of history. We aim to uncover the significance of important historical dates, such as the creation in 11,013 BC, the flood in 4990 BC, and even the date when God would bring judgment upon the house of God, the churches, as mentioned in 1 Peter 4:17. We'll also explore the date of Judgment Day, which is also alluded to in the same verse. And you might be wondering what the biblical timeline of history is and why it's important to learn. These dates weren't placed in the Bible arbitrarily. They serve a purpose beyond mere knowledge. God always has a reason for concealing truths within the Bible. These essential dates are not explicitly stated in verses, but require meticulous exploration through comparing Scripture with Scripture, the biblical method for revealing truth, mathematical analysis, and ultimately guidance from God's Holy Spirit. So what exactly is the biblical timeline of history? It's a timeline that spans across the Bible, beginning with the first book, Genesis. This timeline then extends into subsequent books and chapters. Why should we invest time in learning about the biblical timeline of history? The answer can be found in Ecclesiastes 8:5. Whoso keepeth the commandment shall feel no evil thing, and a wise man's heart discerneth both time and judgment. To comprehend the current time or season, understanding past biblical events is essential to understand when future events will occur that the Bible is prophesied about.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to another episode in the Biblical Timeline of History series. This is episode 13, I believe, and part 6 of the Kings. And what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and pick up where we left off, but Brian's going to go through some things in the beginning. So we'll do that first, and then we'll just continue on down to the Kings. You just gotta mute yourself. Oh, there you go.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to do a quick screen share. I still can't share my screen.
Yeah, I just got to give you access. All right, try that now.
Okay. All right, can you see the Excel file now?
Yeah, I can see it.
Can you read it? If I do this?
Yeah, it's readable. You could zoom in a little bit.
Maybe I'll make this 150. All right. So this is a list of all the kings. On the left, we have the kings of Judah. On the right, we have the kings of Israel. And we'll just go through them in order. We're going to look at whether or not they were a good or a bad king. So with Jeroboam, the first king of Israel, there's no direct verse that says he's evil. However, there are a number of verses that imply it. For example, in 1 Kings 22:52, we read, "And he did evil in the sight of Jehovah and walked in all the ways of his father and in the way of his mother, in the way of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin." And Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, is the first Jeroboam, as opposed to Jeroboam, the son of Joash, who's the 14th Jeroboam, who would be down here. Anyway, we also read in 2 Kings 13:2, "And he did that which was evil in the sight of Jehovah, and followed in the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, which made Israel to sin. He departed not therefrom." And in 2 Kings 13:11, we read, "And he did that which was evil in the sight of Jehovah. He departed not from all the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin, but he walked therein." So Jeroboam, the first king of Israel, was a bad king. In 1 Kings 15, we read in verses 25 and 26, "And Nadab, the son of Jeroboam, began to reign over Israel in the second year of Asa, king of Judah, and he reigned over Israel 2 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Jehovah, and walked in the way of his father, and in his sin wherewith he made Israel to sin. Third king of Israel is Baasha. In 1 Kings 15, we'll read in verses 33 and 34. In the 3rd year of Asa, king of Judah, began Baasha, the son of Ahijah, to reign over Israel in Tirzah 24 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Jehovah, and walked in the way of Jeroboam, and in his sin wherewith he made Israel to sin. So Baasha was an evil king. Elah. In 1 Kings 16:13, we read, "For all the sins of Baasha and the sins of Elah his son, by which they sinned, and by which they made Israel to sin, in provoking Jehovah God of Israel to anger with their vanities." Fifth king of Israel is Zimri, and in 1 Kings 16, I'll read verses 18 to 20. "And it came to pass, when Zimri saw that the city was taken, that he went into the palace of the king's house, and burnt the king's house over him with fire, and died. For his sins which he sinned in doing evil in the sight of Jehovah, in walking in the way of Jeroboam, and in his sins which he did to make Israel to sin. Now the rest of the acts of Zimri and his treason," and there again you see treason, "that he wrought, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel?" Next king, Omri. In 1 Kings 16:25, we read, "But Omri wrought evil in the eyes of Jehovah, and did worse than all that were before him." Tibni. In 1 Kings 16, we'll read verses 21 and 22. "Then were the people of Israel divided into 2 parts. Half the people followed Tibni, the son of Ginath, to make him king, and half followed Omri. But the people that followed Omri prevailed against the people that followed Tibni, the son of Ginath. So Tibni died, and Omri reigned." And as far as I can tell, the English word Tibni and the Strong's number, which is translated Tibni, is H8402. These only appear in these 2 verses. However, there is a related word, H8401, and this Strong's number appears 17 times in the Old Testament. It's translated 15 times as straw, once as stubble, and once as chaff. And again, this is not the word Tibni, but this is the word related to Tibni in Jeremiah, because the word Tibni only appears in those 2 verses. In Jeremiah 23:28, we read, "The prophet that hath a dream, let him tell a dream, that he may hath my word. Let him speak my word faithfully. What is the chaff?" And the word chaff is the word related to Tibni, "to the wheat, saith Jehovah." And of course, in the reference of chaff and wheat, chaff typically represents those who are unsaved. Or in Job 21, I'll read verses 17 and 18. "How oft is the candle of the wicked put out, and how oft cometh their destruction upon them. God distributeth sorrows in his anger. They are stubble," and that word stubble is the word related to Tibni, "before the wind, and as chaff," and that's a different word, chaff, "as chaff that the storm carrieth away." And in Job 41:27, we read, "He esteemeth iron as straw," and that word straw is the word related to Tibni. "He esteemeth iron as straw, and brass as rotten wood." So all of these speak very negatively, so I'm going to say that Tibni was a bad king. And for Ahab, we read in 1 Kings 16:30, "And Ahab the son of Omri did evil in the sight of Jehovah above all that were before him." Next, we have Ahaziah, and in 1 Kings 22, I'll read verses 51 and 52. "Ahaziah, the son of Ahab, began to reign over Israel in Samaria in the 17th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and reigned 2 years over Israel. And he did evil in the sight of Jehovah, and walked in the ways of his father, and in the way of his mother, and in the way of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin." Bad king. We have Joram / Jehoram, king of Israel, not to be confused with Joram / Jehoram, king of Judah. In 2 Kings 3, 1 and 2, we read, Now Jehoram, the son of Ahab, began to reign over Israel in Samaria in the 18th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and reigned 12 years. And he wrought evil in the sight of Jehovah, but not like his father and like his mother, for he put away the image of Baal that his father had made. So he was a bad king, but not as bad as his dad. Jehu, 2 Kings 10:31. But Jehu took no heed to walk in the law of Jehovah, God of Israel, with all his heart, for he departed not from the sins of Jeroboam, which made Israel to sin. Bad king. Jehoahaz, in 2 Kings 13, I'll read verses 1 and 2. In the 23rd year of Joash, the son of Ahaziah, king of Judah, Jehoahaz, the son of Jehu, began to reign over Israel in Samaria and reigned 17 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Jehovah and followed in the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, which made Israel to sin, and he departed not therefrom. Jehoash / Joash. In 2 Kings 13, we read in verses 11 and 10, In the 37th year of Joash, king of Judah, began Jehoash, the son of Jehoahaz, to reign over Israel in Samaria, and reigned 16 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Jehovah. He departed not from all the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin, but he walked therein. Jeroboam, this is Jeroboam the 14th king of Israel, not to be confused with Jeroboam the first king of Israel. 2 Kings 14, we read in verses 23 and 24, In the 15th year of Amaziah, the son of Joash, the king of Judah, Jeroboam, the son of Joash, that's the 14th king of Israel, began to reign in Samaria, and he reigned 41 years, and he did that which was evil in the sight of Jehovah. He departed not from all the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, and that was the first king of Israel. And again, verse 24, he did that which was evil in the sight of Jehovah. He departed not from all the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. Next, we have Zechariah in 2 Kings 15, verses 8 and 9. In the 38th year of Azariah, king of Judah, did Zechariah, the son of Jeroboam, reign over Israel in Samaria 6 months. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Jehovah, as his fathers had done. He departed not from the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. Shallum. There's not a lot about Shallum. However, in 2 Kings 15, we'll read starting in verse 8. In the 38th year of Azariah, king of Zechariah, the son of Jeroboam, in the 38th year of Azariah, king of Judah, did Zechariah, the son of Jeroboam, reign over Israel in Samaria 6 months. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Jehovah, as his fathers had done. He departed not from the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. And Zechariah was an evil king, and Shallum conspired against him. And I'm not sure if Zechariah was anointed or not, but it was probably a sin historically to conspire against him. And it should be noted that David did not conspire against Saul, even though David had already been appointed and Saul tried to kill him. And we'll continue in verse 10. And Shallum the son of Jabesh conspired against him and smote him before the people and slew him and reigned in his stead. And the rest of the acts of Zechariah, behold, they are written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel. This was the word of Jehovah, which he spake unto Jehu, saying, Thy sons shall sit on the throne of Israel unto the 4th generation. And so it came to pass. Shallum the son of Jabesh began to reign in the 39th year of Uzziah king of Judah, and he reigned a full month in Samaria. For Menahem the son of Gadi, went up from Tirzah and came to Samaria and smote Shallum, the son of Jabesh, in Samaria, and slew him and reigned in his stead. And the rest of the acts of Shallum and his conspiracy which he made, behold, they are written in the book of the Chronicles of the king of Israel. So here again, it doesn't directly say that he's evil, but he did conspire and kill his predecessor. And we know that David, who was a saved man, refused to kill Saul, even though he had already been anointed, and despite the fact that Saul was actively trying to kill him. Next, we go to Menahem in 2 Kings 15, verses 17 and 18. In the 39th year of Azariah, king of Judah, began Menahem, the son of Gadi, to reign over Israel, and reigned 10 years in Samaria. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Jehovah. He departed not all his days from the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. Next, we come Pekahiah in 2 Kings 15, verses 23 and 24. In the 50th year of Azariah, king of Judah, Pekahiah, the son of Menahem, began to reign over Israel in Samaria, and reigned 2 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Jehovah. He departed not from the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. Next, we come to Pekah in 2 Kings 15, verses 27 to 28. In the 52nd year of Azariah, king of Judah, Pekah, the son of Remaliah, began to reign over Israel in Samaria, and reigned 20 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Jehovah. He departed not from the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. And the last king of Israel was Hoshea. In 2 Kings 17, 1 and 2, we read, in the 20th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, began Hoshea, the son of Elah, to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Jehovah, but not as the kings of Israel that were before him. So here we can see that there are 20 kings of Israel post Solomon, and each and every one of them was bad. Things are a little bit better in Judah. You have 4 kings who were actually saved, and you have 4 kings who were not saved, but God says that they did right. So maybe God restrained their hearts, or they gave the appearance of being saved. But anyway, the first king, Rehoboam, is bad, as we read in 1 Kings 14, 21 and 22. And Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, reigned in Judah. Rehoboam was 41 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 17 years in Jerusalem, the city which Jehovah did choose out of all the tribes of Israel to put his name there. And his mother's name was Naamah, an Ammonitess. And Judah did evil in the sight of Jehovah, and they provoked him to jealousy with sins which they had committed above all their fathers had done. So he was an evil king. The next king is Abijah, or Abijam. In 1 Kings 15, we read in verses 1 to 3. Now in the 18th year of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, reigned Abijam over Judah. 3 years reigned he in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Maacah, the daughter of Absalom. And he walked in all the sins of his father, which he had done before him, and his heart was not perfect with Jehovah his God, as was the heart of David his father. So he says his heart was not perfect. So this tells us directly he was not a saved man, and he was not as David, because David was a saved man. Now here we come to Asa, who is the first saved king. We read in 1 Kings 15, I'll read verses 8 to 11. And Abijam slept with his fathers, and they buried him in the city of David, and Asa his son reigned in his stead. In the 20th year of Jeroboam, king of Israel, reigned Asa over Judah. And 41 years reigned he in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Maacah, the daughter of Absalom. And Asa did that which was right in the eyes of Jehovah, as did David his father. And skipping down to verse 14, but the high places were not removed. Nevertheless, Asa's heart was perfect with Jehovah all his days. So here we see that Asa behaved as David did. David was a saved man. Later on in verse 14, it says his heart was perfect all of his days. So next we have Jehoshaphat, and we read in 1 Kings 22. I'll read verses 41 to 43. And Jehoshaphat, the son of Asa, began to reign over Judah in the 4th year of Ahab, king of Israel. Jehoshaphat was 35 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 25 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Azubah, the daughter of Shehili. And he walked in all the ways of Asa his father. And again, Asa was a saved man. He turned not aside from doing it, that which was right in the eyes of Jehovah. And again, he turned not away from doing it. Nevertheless, the high places were not taken away, for the people offered and burnt incense yet in the high places. Or we read in 2 Chronicles 19, I'll read verses 8 and 9. Moreover, in Jerusalem did Jehoshaphat set the Levites and the priests of the chief of the fathers of Israel for the judgment of Jehovah and for controversies when they returned to Jerusalem. And he charged them, saying, Thus shall ye do in the fear of Jehovah, faithfully and with a perfect heart. So next we go to the 5th king of Judah. In 2 Chronicles 21:1, we read, Now Jehoshaphat slept with his fathers and was buried with his fathers in the city of David, and Jehoram his son reigned in his stead. And I'll skip down to verses 5 and 6. Jehoram was 32 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem, and walked in the way of the kings of Israel. And remember, all the kings of Israel were wicked. And he walked in the way of the kings of Israel, like as did the house of Ahab, for he had the daughter of Ahab to wife, and he wrought that which was evil in the eyes of Jehovah. Next, we come to Ahaziah, also known as Jehoahaz or Azariah. And I don't know why that's not showing up. Okay. 2 Kings 8:26 and 27. 22 years old was Ahaziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Athaliah, the daughter of Omri, king of Israel. And he walked in the way of the house of Ahab, and did evil in the sight of Jehovah, as did the house of Ahab, for he was the son-in-law of the house of Ahab. Next, we come to Athaliah, who was the wife of this king and the mother of this king. And let me scroll over. Second Chronicles 22, 2 to 4. 40 and 2 years old was Ahaziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. His mother's name was also Athaliah, the daughter of Omri. He walked in the ways of the house of Ahab, for his mother was his counselor to do wickedly. Wherefore he did evil in the sight of Jehovah, like the house of Ahab, for they were counselors at the death of his father to his destruction. So after this king died, this king was advised by his mother to do wickedly. And we'll skip down to verse 10, 2 Chronicles 22:10. But when Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the royal seed of the house of Judah. But Jehobasheth, the daughter of the king, took Joash, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him from among the king's sons that were slain, and put him and his nurse in a bedchamber. So Jehoshabeth, the daughter of King Jehoram, the wife of Jehoiada the priest, for she was sister to Ahaziah, hid him from Athaliah, so that she slew him not. And he was with them in the house of God 6 years, and Athaliah reigned over the land. So she murdered all of her own grandsons to ensure there would be no one to challenge her in the future. And let's look at 2 Chronicles 23, 1 to 15. 11 to 15, I'm sorry. They brought out the king's son and put upon him the crown and gave him the testimony and made him king. And Jehoiada and his sons anointed him and said, God save the king. Now when Athaliah heard the noise of the people running and praising the king, she came to the people into the house of Jehovah. And she looked, and behold, the king stood at his pillar and entering in, and the princes and the trumpets by the king, and all the people of the land rejoiced and sounded with trumpets, also the singers with the instruments of music, and such as taught to sing praise. Then Athaliah rent her clothes and said, Treason, treason. Then Jehoiada the priest brought out the captains of hundreds that were set over the host, and said unto them, Have her forth of the ranges, and whosoever followeth her, let him be slain with the sword. For the priest said, Slay her not in the house of Jehovah. So they laid hands on her, and when she was come to the entering of the horse gate by the king's house, they slew her there. And finally, in 2 Chronicles 24:7, we read, For the sons of Athaliah, that wicked woman, had broken up the house of God, and also the dedicated things of the house of Jehovah did they bestow upon Balaam. So, wicked queen, wicked king. Now, next we come to Jehoash, who is an unsaved man, but for most of his reign, God does say he did that which was right. So in 2 Kings 12, so I call him mixed. In 2 Kings 12:2, we read, And Jehoash did that which was right in the sight of Jehovah all his days, wherein Jehoiada the priest instructed him. And it's important to note that it only says that he did that which was right during the days of Jehoiada the priest, not what happened after Jehoiada died. And we can read about that in 2 Chronicles 24. I'll start in verse 15. But Jehoiada waxed old and was full of days when he died, and 130 years old when he died. And they buried him in the city of David among the kings, because he had done good in Israel, both toward God and toward his house. Now after the death of Jehoiada came the princes of Judah, and made obeisance to the king. The king hearkened unto them. And they left the house of Jehovah, God of their fathers, and served groves and idols, and wrath came upon Judah and Jerusalem for this their trespass. Yet he sent prophets to them to bring them again unto Jehovah, and they testified against them, but they would not give ear. And the Spirit of God came upon Zechariah, the son of Jehoiada the priest, which stood above the people, and said unto them, Thus saith God, Why transgress ye the commandments of Jehovah, that ye cannot prosper? Because ye have forsaken Jehovah, he hath also forsaken you. And they conspired against him, and stoned him with stones at the commandment of the king in the court of the house of Jehovah. Thus Jehoash the king remembered not the kindness of Jehoiada his father had done to him, but slew his son. And when he died, he said, Jehovah look upon it and require it. And next is Amaziah, who again, God said he did right, but he was not a saved man. In 2 Chronicles 25:1 and 2, Amaziah was 20 and 5 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 20 and 9 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Jehoiadan of Jerusalem. And he did that which was right in the sight of Jehovah, but not with a perfect heart. So he did that which was right, but he didn't have a perfect heart. He wasn't saved. In 2 Kings 14, 1-3, we read, in the second year of Joash, the son of Jehoahaz, king of Israel, reigned Amaziah, the son of Joash, king of Judah. He was 20 and 5 years old when he began to reign, and reigned 20 and 9 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Jehoiadan of Jerusalem. And he did that which was right in the sight of Jehovah, yet not like David his father. He did according to all things as Joash his father did. So again, he didn't do things like David, who was a saved man. He did things right according to his father, who was not a saved man. Next, we have Uzziah / Azariah, who again was a good king, but an unsaved man. In 2 Kings 15, 1-5, we read, in the 27th year of Jeroboam, king of Israel, began Ahaziah, the son of Amaziah, king of Judah, to reign. 16 years old was he when he began to reign, and he reigned 50 and 2 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Jechaliah of Jerusalem. And he did that which was right in the sight of Jehovah, according to all that his father Amaziah had done. And again, Amaziah was an unsaved man. Verse 4, save the high places were not removed. The people sacrificed and burnt incense still on the high places. And Jehovah smote the king so that he was a leper unto the day of his death, and dwelt in a several house. And Jotham, the king's son, was over the house, judging the people of the land. And we'll look at 2 Chronicles 26. We'll read verses 3-5. 16 years old was Uzziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 50 and 2 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was also Jechaliah of Jerusalem, and he did that which was right in the sight of Jehovah, according to all that his father Amaziah did. And he sought God in the days of Zechariah, who had understanding in the visions of God. And as long as he sought Jehovah, God made him to prosper. So let's look at what happened when he stopped doing that. We'll skip down to verse 16, 2 Chronicles 26:16. But when he was strong, his heart was lifted up to his destruction, for he transgressed against Jehovah his God, and went into the temple of Jehovah to burn incense upon the altar of incense. And Azariah the priest went in after him, and with him 80 priests of Jehovah that were valiant men. And they withstood Uzziah king, and said unto him, it appertaineth not unto thee, Uzziah, to burn incense in the house of Jehovah, but the priests, the son of Aaron, that are consecrated to burn incense, to go out of the sanctuary, for thou hast trespassed. Neither shall it be for thine honor from Jehovah God. Then Uzziah was wroth, and had a censer in his hand to burn incense. And while he was wroth with the priests, the leprosy rose up, even in his forehead, before the priests in the house of Jehovah, from besides the incense altar. And Azariah the chief priest and all the priests looked upon him, and behold, he was leprous in his forehead. And they thrust him out from thence, yea, himself hasted also to go out, because Jehovah had smitten him. And Uzziah the king was a leper unto the day of his death, and dwelt in a several house, being a leper, for he was cut out from the house of Jehovah. And Jotham his son was over the king's house, judging the people of the land. Now the rest of the acts of Uzziah, the first and the last, did Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amoz, write. So Uzziah slept with his fathers, and they buried him with his fathers in the field of the burial which belonged to the kings, for they said, he is a leper, and Jotham his son reigned in his stead. And here now we come to Jotham, who was a king that did right, but he was not a saved man. In 2 Kings 15, we'll start in verse 32. In the second year of Pekah, the son of Remaliah, king of Israel, began Jotham, the son of Uzziah, king of Judah, to reign. 25 years old was he when he began to reign, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Jerusha, the daughter of Zadok. And he did that which was right in the sight of Jehovah, according to all that his father Uzziah had done. Howbeit, the high places were not removed. The people sacrificed and burned incense. Still, in the high places, he built the higher gate of the house of Jehovah. So he did that which was right, but according to Uzziah, who again was not a saved man. In 2 Chronicles 27, we'll start in verse 1. Jotham was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Jerusha, the daughter of Zadok, and he did that which was right in the sight of Jehovah, according to all that his father Uzziah did. Howbeit, he entered not into the temple of Jehovah, and the people did yet corruptly. He built the high gate of the house of Jehovah, and the wall of Ophel he built much. Moreover, he built the cities in the mountains of Judah, and in the forests he built castles and towers. He fought with the king of the Ammonites and prevailed against them, and the children of Ammon gave him the same year 100 talents of silver, and 10,000 measures of wheat, and 10,000 of barley. So much did the children of Ammon pay unto him, both in the second year and in the third. So Jotham became mighty because he prepared his ways before Jehovah his God. Now the rest of the acts of Jotham and all his wars and his ways, lo, they are written in the book of the kings of Judah. He was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. Next we have Ahaz, who was a bad king. 2 Kings 16, we'll start in verse 1. In the 17th year of Pekah, the son of Remaliah, the son of Jotham, king of Judah, began to reign. 20 years old was Ahaz when he began to reign, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. And he did not that which was right in the sight of Jehovah, like his God, like David his father. But he walked in the ways of the kings of Israel, yea, and made his son to pass through the fire, according to the abominations of the heathen, whom Jehovah cast out from before the children of Israel. And we notice here it says that he did that which was not right. And I checked the Strong's number, and that's different from saying he did that which was evil. So I'm not sure exactly what that means, but I'm tempted to look at Luke 9, verses 49 and 50, which say, and John answered and said, Master, we saw one casting out devils in thy name, and we forbade him, because he followeth not us. Jesus said unto him, Forbid him not, for he that is not against us is for us. So the fact that it says that he did that which was not right, instead of saying that which he did was evil, makes me think it's kind of the same thing. But again, God uses different words. So, but it also kind of reminds me of, normally God talks about animals being clean and unclean. And however, in Genesis 7, I'll read verse 2, of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by sevens, the male and the female, and of beasts that are not clean by two, the male and the female. And verse 8, of clean beasts and of beasts that are not clean, and of fowls and of everything that creepeth upon the earth. And so God uses a different word by saying not clean, as opposed to normally he would say unclean. So I'm not sure the spiritual meaning of that. I just thought it interesting. Next, we go to Hezekiah, who was a saved man. In 2 Kings 18, we read in verses 1 and 3, Now it came to pass in the third year of Hoshea, son of Elah, king of Israel, that Hezekiah, the son of Ahaz, king of Judah, began to reign, 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Abi, the daughter of Zechariah. And he did that which was right in the sight of Jehovah, according to all that David his father did. So he did it like David. And for confirmation, let's look at 2 Kings 20, verse 3. I beseech thee, O Jehovah, Remember now how I have walked before thee in truth and with a perfect heart, and have done that which was good in thy sight. And Hezekiah wept sore. Next, we go to Manasseh, who was an evil king. 2 Kings 21, 1 to 2. Manasseh was 12 years old when he began to reign, and reigned 50 and 5 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hephzibah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Jehovah, after the abominations of the heathen, whom Jehovah cast out before the children of Israel. Next, we have Ammon, who was also an evil king. 2 Kings 21, we read in verses 19 and 20. Ammon
Hey,
was
Brian.
yeah.
Somebody was asking in the chat if you could make the chart font larger. You think you can zoom in more?
Is that better?
I think so.
Okay. 2 Kings 21, 19 and 20. Ammon was 20 and 2 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 2 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Meshullemeth, the daughter of Haruz of Jotbah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Jehovah, as his father Manasseh did. Now we come to Josiah, who was the fourth and final saved king of Judah. You had Asa, who was the third king. You had his son Jehoshaphat, who was the fourth king. You had Hezekiah, who was the 13th king. And now you have Josiah, who's the 16th king. 2 Kings 22, verses 1 and 2. Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 30 and 1 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Jedediah, the daughter of Ahadiah of Boskath. And he did that which was right in the sight of Jehovah, and walked in all the way of David his father, and turned not aside to the right hand or to the left. So again, he did it like David, who was a saved man. In 2 Chronicles 34, 1 and 2, we read, Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 31 years, and he did that which was right in the sight of Jehovah, and walked in the ways of David his father, and declined neither to the right hand nor to the left. And the rest of the kings are going to be bad. Jehoahaz, 2 Kings 23, verses 31 and 32. Jehoahaz was 20 and 3 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah, and he did that which was evil in the sight of Jehovah, according to all that his fathers had done. Next, the 18th king is Jehoiakim / Eliakim. In 2 Kings 23, verses 36 to 37, Jehoiakim was 20 and 5 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Zerubbabel, the daughter of Pedaiah of Rumah, and he did that which was evil in the sight of Jehovah, according to all that his fathers had done. The 19th king is Jehoiachin, also known as Jeconiah, and also known as Coniah. In 2 Kings 24, we read in verses 8 and 9, Jehoiachin was 18 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 3 months, and his mother's name was Neheshtusha, the daughter of Elathan of Jerusalem, and he did that which was evil in the sight of Jehovah, according to all that his father had done. And finally, we come to our 20th and final king, Zedekiah, who's also known as Mathaniah. In 2 Kings 24, we'll read verses 18 and 19. Zedekiah was 20 and 1 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah, and he did that which was evil in the sight of Jehovah, according to all that Jehoiakim had done. So overall, we see all 20 kings of Israel were evil. And of the 20 kings of Judah, we have 4 that were saved. We have 4 which did right, but were not saved. And there were 12 that were bad.
All right. Thanks, Brian. Took a little longer than expected, but that's okay. All All right, so I'll get started on we'll pick up where we left off with the kings. Give me a moment. All right, can you see my screen, Brian?
Yep.
Okay. So, just a reminder for anyone who's watched this before, anyone new, to get to the timeline, you go to ebiblefellowship.org, and on the right side, you'll see this sidebar, and you'll see timeline right here, biblical timeline. So click that, and we're going to the kings. So if you scroll all the way to the right, you'll get to the kings, and then what you want to do is you want to click this, the 460-year reign of the 43 kings. All right. Now, I just wanted to show something here. So, last episode, we stopped off, I think, with Jehoshaphat. Well, actually, these are the kings of Israel. So, we got down to the 13th king of Israel, which is Joash or Jehoash, and we stopped there. So, we were going to pick up at Jeroboam, which is the 14th, and then with the kings of Judah, we got as far as Jehoshaphat. So, we stopped here at Jehoram, which is he's the 5th king. So everything in black is the kings we still have to go over. Likewise up there, so. All right. So we're gonna start with let's see. We're gonna go over, we did most of the kings of Israel. So we're gonna try to make some progress with the kings of Judah. We're gonna pick up with the 5th king, if you don't count the first 3. This is when the kingdom's divided, so Jehoram or Joram. And we actually went through the king of Israel that also has the same name. So I think we kind of went through some of that where we realized they're actually 2 different kings, even though they have the same name. They ruled the same amount of time, and they ruled around almost exactly the same time. All right, so King Joram. Zoom in there a little bit. All right, King Joram was the 5th king of Judah. So when did he begin to reign? We are not directly told when the rule of Joram began or ended. We must figure it out by deduction. 2 Kings 1, verse 1 to 2. Then Moab rebelled against Israel after the death of Ahab. And Ahaziah fell down through a lattice in his upper chamber that was in Samaria, and was sick. And he sent messengers and said unto them, Go, inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron, whether I shall recover of this disease. In verse 17, so he died according to the word of Jehovah, which Elijah had spoken, and Joram reigned in his stead in the 2nd year. This is his second accession year of Joram, the son of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, because he had no son. I want to reread this verse because you'll notice it sounds a little bit strange. It says, and Jehoram reigned in his stead in the 2nd year of Jehoram. So on the surface, this seems kind of strange. Why is he saying he reigned? It makes it seem like it's the same king, right? But it's actually, this verse is letting us know, we can see that these are 2 different kings. So this first one is highlighted in this darker purple, so that's the king of Israel. And the second one is a king of Judah. And you'll notice, we know he's a king of Judah because he's the son of Jehoshaphat, which he was a king of Judah. We know what year Ahaziah, this is Israel 9, so he's the 9th king of Israel, died. And Jehoram, this is the 10th king of Israel, became king. This year corresponds to the 2nd year.
Well, before you move on, can we look at it on the
Yeah.
chart?
Yeah, sure. Okay. See that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's just see. All right, so Jehoram reigned in his stead in the second year of Jehoram. So if we go over here, we'll see that the King Jehoram of Judah, his reign starts in 854 BC. That's his first non-accession year right here. If you scroll over to the right, you'll see the Jehoram of Israel. His reign begins in 853, so it's 1 year, 1 year later, right? So I'll just put them side by side just like that. I'll move the mouse over. So you got 853. So in the verse it says, yeah, this is the Joram of Israel, reigned in his stead in the second year. And so what that's referring to is the second non-accession year right here, 853. Okay. With this information, we know that Joram, king of Judah, so that's this king here, began to reign in 854 BC. So this is a starting point for us. So this is how we determine when he began to reign.
Yeah. So if his second year was in 853, we know his first year had to be in 854.
Right.
So now we know the beginning of when he began to reign.
Yeah. And the Bible doesn't give us his date. We had to determine it from this king over here, which he does, I believe, when we open this up. We already went over this last time. Let's see. So when did he reign? The son of now Jehoram, this is the one of king of Israel, the son of Ahab, began to reign over Israel and Samaria the 18th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah. So Jehoshaphat's 18th year is right here, which is 853. And so that's why we could place this king here. And then that allows us to figure out where this king reigns. It's his second year, the second non-accession. So then we just go up 1 year. And that helps us to determine when King Joram of Judah began to reign. Now that's important that we have a starting point here. And the Bible doesn't give us that verse directly. We had to figure that out. So we know he began to reign here. I hope that's clear so far to everyone. And feel free if anyone has like a question and they want to ask about something that we're just now talking about, you can always raise your hand and try to take it. Okay. So yeah, we just established that Joram of Judah reigned 1 year earlier than Joram of Israel. Thus Joram, king of Judah, became king 1 year earlier, which is the same year that Ahaziah, this is the king of, must have forgot to write Israel. Okay, let's see.
Yeah, Joram became king the same year that Ahaziah became king of Israel.
Right.
He became co-regent with his father Ahab.
Yeah, King Ahaziah of Israel, which is right. 854. Yeah, 854 for Joram. All right.
Not to be confused with Ahaziah, the king of Judah, who was the son of Joram, the king of Judah.
Yeah, we should point that out here. So Ahaziah is brother, right, to this Joram?
Correct.
These are brothers right here. This Ahaziah, this Joram.
And because Ahaziah had no sons when he died, that's why his brother became king.
Right, and then this one over here, this Joram, and you have this Ahaziah. So this was the son of this Joram, not the brother over here. Okay. So Jehu kills Joram, king of Israel, and Ahaziah, king of Judah, in the year 841 BC. So Jehu is right here. He kills in 841 he kills Joram right here. And he also kills Ahaziah, this one right here. The king of Judah right here. So that's 841. That's why his reign ends in 841. And that's why his reign ends in 841. And we know the Bible tells us that this Joram reigned for 12 accession years. Okay, so we also know that Jehu, king of Israel, killed both Joram, king of Israel, and Ahaziah. So we just went over that in the same year. And that's an important thing to establish, and you'll see why, because this leads us to some more information. And Joram said, "Make ready," and his chariot was made ready. And Joram, king of Israel, and Ahaziah, king of Judah, went out, each in his chariot, and they went out against Jehu, and met him in the portion of Naboth the Jezreelite. This is the Jehoram, king of Israel, not the one of king of Judah, and that's highlighted here with its color. So, verse 24, and Jehu drew a bow with his full strength, and smote Jehoram between his arms, and the arrow went out at his heart, and he sunk down in his chariot. Verse 27, but when Ahaziah the king of Judah saw this, he fled by the way of the garden house. And Jehu followed after him and said, "Smite him also in the chariot." And they did so at the going up of Gur, which is by Eblim, and he fled to Megiddo and died there. So we know the year that Ahaziah died, which is 841 BC, which is the 12th and last accession year of Joram, king of Israel, before Jehu slew them both. So again, this king Joram of Israel, he dies in 841. Jehu slays him. So that means Jehu takes over in 841 as king, and he also killed Ahaziah in 841. This is Ahaziah of Judah. Okay, so now we want to figure out, okay, when did Ahaziah become king? If we can find this year, so we know when he died, which this is this year, but we want to figure out when he became king. If we can find this year, we can figure out when his father Joram, king of Judah, dies. So remember, Joram, we figured out the date that he began to reign, which is 854, but we don't know, the Bible doesn't tell us exactly how long he reigned, which makes this king interesting because God does tell us that with other kings. So we have to figure out how many years did this king reign. So if we have the starting point, which is 854, we now need to figure out the end point, right? And to do that, if we can figure out when Ahaziah begins to reign, then we can work backwards that way. So let's see. So if we can find this year, we can figure out when his father Jehoram, king of Judah, dies. There's no verses that we found that indicates a co-regency. Therefore, the year Joram dies must be the same year Ahaziah becomes king. Keep in mind that that they would not be the same year if there was a co-regency. So it's important to figure that out if there's a co-regency or not. All right, 2 Kings 9:29. In the 11th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, began Ahaziah to reign over Judah. And then I'm going to read 2 Kings 8:25. In the 12th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, did Ahaziah, the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, begin to reign. Now, this is one of those verses that if you don't understand the timeline or how the Bible is written, you scratch your head. Like this seems like an apparent contradiction. Here he's saying in the 11th year, and here he's saying the 12th year. And so, a Bible critic might say, here's a contradiction, But the way we understand
Scribal
this,
error.
yeah, or scribal error. But the way we can understand this, and I'm sure some of you have figured it out, is this one's highlighted in yellow, this one's highlighted in orange. So that's the 11th and 12th year of Ahaziah. Let's see. Joram, the son of Ahab. So Ahab is right here. Joram would be his son. And it's in his 11th accession year. This is his 12th non-accession year. So both statements are true because
And you can see that's 842 BC.
Yeah, 842. So if you scroll over to the right, 842 is when Ahaziah begins to reign. Right here, 842. Because we wanted to figure out when did Ahaziah, we knew when Ahaziah died, we know that year, but this is how we can figure out when he began to reign, 842. Okay. 22 years old was Ahaziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Athaliah, the daughter of Omri, king of Israel. So he only reigned for 1 year, but that's one accession year. You'll see we have it highlighted in yellow. So if we come back here, this is the 1 year that he reigned, but it was also the year that he died.
And it
Right here.
confirms that we did our homework correctly because we figured out beforehand he died the same year that Jehu killed the Israel Joash, and we figured out when he began to reign a year earlier, and then that verse says he reigned for 1 year, which we know has to be an accession year. So that confirms that we did the homework correctly.
All right, so he reigned 1 year. Since Ahaziah, he's also known as Jehoaz and Azariah, king of Judah, reigned only one accession year. We do not read about a co-regency between Ahaziah, king of Judah, and his father Jehoram. So there's no co-regency we read about between this Jehoram and this Ahaziah. Okay. It's most likely that Jehoram of Judah died the year his son became king. There are, however, some complications with this theory. 2 Chronicles 21, 1-5. Now Jehoshaphat slept with his fathers and was buried with his fathers in the city of David, and Jehoram his son reigned in his stead. And he had brethren, the sons of Jehoshaphat, Azariah, and Jehiel, and Zechariah, and Azariah, and Michael, and Shephatiah. All these were the sons of Jehoshaphat, king of Israel. And their father gave them great gifts of silver and of gold, and of precious things, with fenced cities in Judah. But the kingdom gave he to Jehoram, because he was the firstborn. Now when Jehoram was risen up to the kingdom of his father, he strengthened himself and slew all of his brethren with the sword, and divers also of the princes of Israel. Jehoram reigns 8 years. So the question of this.
Well, read verse 5 below it.
Okay, so Jehoram was 32 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem. So the question is, did he reign 8 years or 12 accession years, as we have right here? We have him reigning for 12 accession years.
Yeah, because we know what year he began to reign, and we know what year he ended the reign.
Right. But here, the verse is suggesting that he only reigned for 8 years. So Joram was 32 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem. Now, I don't think we pointed out that he died this year.
Well, that's normally when a king's reign ends, when they die.
No, I'm saying, did we mention this part? So the way we figured out, yeah, so that's how we did it. So because I forgot to mention this. So because we figured out Ahaziah's first non-accession year is 842, that allows us to place Joram's death right here at 842. Because when a king dies, if there's no co-regency, the next king takes over, right? So if we backtrack here, because remember, the Bible doesn't tell us when this king began to reign, and he doesn't tell us when this king died and ended his reign. So we went through Jehoram. We figured out that he began his reign in the second year, which is right here. That's how we figured out the starting point. But then when you get down here to 841, we discovered that Jehu in 841 killed this Joram, and he also killed Ahaziah in 841. And then we know that he only reigned for 1 year, accession year. So we can backtrack 1 year, because this would be his first non-accession year, 842. And that allows us to place this Joram at 842. And this would be his 12th accession year. So that's how that was figured out.
And God also confirms that he began to reign in 842, because if you scroll over to the other King Joram, that's his 11th accession and 12th non-accession year.
Right. Yeah. So the 11th accession, 12th non-accession corresponds with 842. Now let's see, where did we see that? Yeah, the 11th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, began Ahaziah to reign over Judah. So yeah, Ahaziah is 842. Yeah, so this lets us know when Ahaziah began to reign, which also lets us know that he died here. So it kind of locks it in. Okay. Right. So the question is, how do we figure out what these 8 years, what is this these 8 years mean then? Uh, we know that Joram reigned for a total of 12 accession years. This is the Joram of Judah. So how do we harmonize this with the 8-year reference? It says he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem, not 8 years total. Remember, Omni reigned for 6 years in Tirzah and 6 years in Samaria for a total of non-accession years. Now, we did go through that last episode with Omri and Tibni, and we figured that out, that God let us know that it was his 6th non-accession year. So that gave, which he died, when Tibni died, Omri reigned by himself because they were reigning, I guess, together. I don't know if it was a co-regency, but
Well, what happened was Elah, who was the fourth king of Israel, was killed by Zimri, the 5th king of Israel. And Zimri, the 5th king, reigned for 1 week. Then Omri comes and Zimri dies. And they make him king of Israel. And then another group of people within Israel make Tibni king. So half of Israel, and when I say half of Israel, I mean half of the 10 tribes of Israel, are following Omri, and the other half of the 10 tribes of Israel are following Tibni. And this is simultaneous to when Asa is ruling over Benjamin and Judah. So it was a co-regency in the sense that they ruled at the same time, but if you were in Israel, you were either under one or the other. You weren't under both. And so they warred against each other, and eventually Omri's forces defeated Tibni, and Tibni died. So the first several kings of Israel, their capital was in Tirzah. And
so
that's where
in other words, God can break up reigns like that, where he'll show some of their reign. So in the case of Omri, he broke it up the first 6 non-accession years, and then there was a remainder 6 years, totaling 12 non-accession years. So it's similar over here. He gives us the eighth accession year, but then we also figure out, well, it's 12 total. There's 2 people that have a question, so we'll see if we can get these 2 questions. Let's see. All right, Louisa, you can go first. Your hand
I
up
have
first.
a lot of questions.
Okay.
Okay, you were just talking about Omri, and I wrote it down here, 6 years in Tirzah, and the next 6 years in Samaria, and that's when they started reigning in Samaria instead of Tirzah, right? The rest of the kings. Okay. Now, the names are confusing. 1 Kings 16:1, Jehu, son of Hanani. I think that was, anyway, one of them. And then 1 Kings 19:16, Jehu, son of Nimshi. One of them is priest. Jehu the priest, and the other one's Jehu the captain. Okay, what he placed what? I had Jehoram as the 10th king of Samaria, and Jehu is what, 12?
Jehu is the 11th king of Israel.
Number 11.
11th, okay.
It depends what Joram. So if you're talking about the Joram of Israel, he's the 10th king, and what follows is Jehu, who's the 11th. If you're talking about the Joram of Judah, he's the 5th king of Judah.
Which one?
You have to separate those.
Zimri.
There's 2 Jorams.
I had Zimri as the 5th.
Zimri's the 5th king of Israel.
Of Israel.
Joram's the 5th king of Judah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Judah. Joram is the 5th. Oh boy,
Okay.
It's confusing.
Well,
okay, yeah, I had it down as 5th. Now, the one question is, I had brother I had as Ahaziah and Jehoram as brothers. Is that
Yes,
Josiah?
Ahaziah, the ninth king of Israel, was the son of Ahab, the eighth king of Israel,
right?
and they became co-regency for a year. They died in the same year. Not they died a couple months, like a month or two later. And Ahaziah did not have any sons. So when
Right.
he died, his brother Joram slash Jehoram who was also a son of Ahab, became the 10th king of Israel.
And Jehu killed both of them, the two brothers.
No,
No,
uh,
not
the,
this Ahaziah. Not he didn't kill this Ahaziah. This
Wait a
this
minute. Jehu, the 11th Samaria king.
yeah, Jehu's the 11th here. I'll show you. So Jehu's the 11th right here. Right?
Okay, and he
He's in the
killed
line
those.
of, because of his color, he's in the line of the king of Israel. So he's a king of Israel. He
Yeah.
kills this Ahaziah.
no, he doesn't
Yeah.
kill that
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ahaziah.
No, confused myself.
He killed the ninth
No.
king.
He kills this Joram, right? Who's
Who's the
brother
10th
to
king
this
of
Ahaziah,
Israel. Yes.
right? He
Yeah,
kills just
he
this
killed number
Joram.
9 and number 10 of Israel.
No. He only kills number 10 of Israel. He only kills number 10 of Israel.
Jehu
Right.
only kills number 10 of Israel.
Yeah, if you scroll over to the left, if you look on my
Mhm.
screen, he kills also this Ahaziah, which is king of Judah.
Not, okay.
Yeah,
And,
Ahaziah, king of Judah, he kills, not Ahaziah,
okay,
king of Israel.
okay,
And you can see how this causes confusion because these two same names are also on this side and they're living around the same time. And so
Mhm.
that's how, but you'll notice that this Ahaziah is also referred to as Azariah and Jehoash,
Joaz.
whereas this one, his name is just King Ahaziah. And he dies the same year that his father dies, as Brian pointed out. So there's a different debt. That's how we know it wasn't this Ahaziah.
Okay, not the two brothers. Okay, just one brother. Okay, now
Yeah, just one brother.
Zimri set the house on fire.
Zimri.
I believe so.
And so did he purposely do that to take his own life, or he just happened to be killed in that fire that he set?
The Bible doesn't explicitly say.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I don't see anywhere here, at least, where it mentions a fire, but maybe there's another
um,
verse about that.
maybe it was Elah died in the fire. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Could have been Elah.
I mean, I read the verse, but
It just says, and he went in and smote him and killed him in the 27th year of Asa. All right, let's go. We're gonna go to the next.
Okay, but by the way, Baasha,
Yeah,
okay, King James spells Baasha, but the Hebrew Tanakh spells without the H. So Baasa instead of Baasha.
yeah. I think there's two
Okay,
different.
and then a quick question. Jehoash of Judah, I think, and Amaziah of Judah, they are both bad kings.
Yeah, this Joash and Jehoash, he's the 8th king of Judah. He's a bad king. He's got the red
8,
heart.
okay.
So number 8 is bad, and also what was the other one? The Amaziah.
Amaziah, yeah. I
Yeah,
had them both as,
we got to him
I
yet,
had
but
if
them,
I recall correctly, what was the number?
Amaziah had I believe, a condition-based heart, which is still a bad heart, but it's like Solomon, where they may have done good up to a certain point.
yeah, those two I had to correct.
I believe Amaziah had the condition-based heart.
And now, how about Jotham?
Yeah.
Jotham.
We haven't gotten to him yet, but
Oh, okay.
we'll get to it. I'm just gonna
Jotham, who was the 11th king of Judah,
11,
God
okay.
said he did that which was right, but he was an unsaved man.
Unsaved, okay.
But
I'm gonna
God
get,
No,
does say he did right.
we'll get the next one.
okay. And then I had an Azariah. I thought it was a king, or maybe was it a priest? Azariah somewhere.
Well, it
Azariah.
could be both. I mean, I think a lot of these names are used multiple times. So there could
Yeah,
be an Azariah king and an Azariah who's a priest.
okay. Was Azariah a leper? Or Uzziah?
The Uzziah, who's also known as Azariah, did become a leper because he burnt incense in the house, which was the priest's job, I believe it was.
Okay, both Azariah and Uzzah. had leprosy.
Well, it's the
Well,
same king.
King Ahaziah also has the name Azariah. He's the sixth king of Judah. So you have to figure out if it's the same person or not.
Yeah, so Azariah is the 10th king of Judah, the 6th king of Judah, and also the what is it? And also the 9th king of Israel. So this is what makes it so complicated.
Okay.
All right.
All
We're
right.
gonna
Thank you.
welcome. We'll
Thank
try to
you.
caller. All right, you can go, Bob. Hello. Oh, he might have stepped away. I tried to unmute him. Okay. Well, we'll just
Hello?
continue. Oh, hey.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering why I think it was Joram, the king of Judah, why his uh, cells were red.
Oh, okay. So anyone with the red, you'll see up here at the top, it's a co-regency.
Oh,
So
okay. All right.
yeah, that's the difference because sometimes it's hard to tell. Like you have this King Jehoshaphat lines up, overlaps
Yeah.
with King Asa. I mean, in this case, it was a co-regency, but for example, like Ahaziah overlaps with Joram, but there wasn't a co-regency. It's the same year that he died,
Yeah.
is King
Yeah, I
Ahaziah.
got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll finish up with Joram. All right. So how do we harmonize this 8-year reference? It says he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem, not 8 years total. Remember, Omri reigned for 6 years in Tirzah and 6 years in Samaria for a total of 12 non-accession years. So 1 Kings 16:23 and 24. In the 31st year of Asa, king of Judah, began Omri to reign over Israel 12 years. 12 years. 6 years reigned he in Tirzah. So we just went over that. Okay. So when were these 8 years in Jerusalem? So this is Brian talking. His initial thought was that this was a reference to his first accession year of being co-regent with his father Jehoshaphat. It makes sense that he would murder his brethren after his father Jehoshaphat. So this is king number 4 of Judah died. Jehoshaphat was a saved man. Even an unsaved man would not want one of his sons murdering all the others.
And when I said it makes sense, I don't mean like it's a good idea to murder your brothers. What I'm saying is if he was going to murder his brothers, he would probably wait until his father died before he tried to do that. And he was co-regent with his father for 8 accession years.
Yeah, and that's similar to Isaac, Esau. He didn't want to harm Jacob until Isaac died. So that might fit in with that. So 2 Chronicles 21, 1 through 4. Now Jehoshaphat slept with his fathers and was buried with his fathers in the city of David, and Jehoram his son reigned in his stead. So this would be right here, 846. So even though there was a co-regency, which is all in red, the verse makes it seem like he began to reign as soon as Jehoshaphat died. But what it means is he began to reign solo. And he had brethren, the sons of Jehoshaphat, Azariah and Jehiel, and Zechariah and Azariah, and Michael and Shephatiah. All these were the sons of Jehoshaphat, king of Israel. I believe you read some of this, so 2 Kings 8:16. In the 5th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, Jehoshaphat, being then king of Judah, Jehoram, the son of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, began to reign. So this actually lets us know that Jehoshaphat is currently alive. Jehoshaphat being then king of Judah. Right? This confirms that there is that he is reigning.
Co-regency.
Yeah. At verse 17, 30 and 2 years old was he when he began to reign, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem.
Okay, so now if you go back to the chart, if you go to the fifth year, the fifth non-accession year of the Israel Joram, okay, you'll see that's the year
This is 849.
849. And if you go to 849, now this is Camping's explanation. He thinks that in this year, the father, Jehoshaphat, became minor king, and his son, Joram, became major king. And if you count, if you start with 5, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if you read Perfect Harmony, Camping believes that in the year 849 BC, that's when Joram, the son, became the major king, and the father, Jehoshaphat, became the minor king. And he believes that because it's put in reference of the 5th year of Joram, king of Israel.
I see. Yeah.
So, so which is this 8 years a reference to? Is it a reference to his first 8 years as non-accession king? Or is it a reference to his last non-accession years as king? And one of the things that we don't want to fall in the mistake of is if you go in the book of Revelation, there's 2 references to 1,000 years. Let me see if I can find this.
Revelations 20 verses 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Did you want to read these other verses?
We'll do that at the end.
Okay.
In Revelation 22 and 3, and this is Christ, and he laid hold on on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he must be loosed a little season. Now this 1,000 years, the church has made 2 mistakes. The one mistake is to assume the 1,000 years was literal rather than figurative. The other, this first 1,000 years where Satan is bound, that's a reference to the literal 1955 years of the church age. Whereas if we go to Revelation 20, verse 6, it says, "Blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. On such the second death hath no power. But they shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years." So here again in Revelation, we see a reference to 1,000 years. And the fundamentalist churches, even during the church age, made 2 big mistakes. The one is to assume that the 1,000 years is literal. The other is to assume that these 2,000 years reference the same period. The 1,000 years that Satan was bound refers to the literal 1955 years of the church age, whereas this 1,000-year reign of Christ, again, is a figurative number that began on May 21, when Christ began to reign in the church and the world. So what does that have to do with this? I wanted to consider the fact that these 8 years might be referencing 2 separate 8-year periods, rather than just assuming blanketly that it has to be the same 8-year period. However, in both cases, it says, if you look at, it says that he ruled in Jerusalem for 8 years.
So 2 Kings 8:17 says, 30 and 2 years old was he when he began to reign, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem.
And 2 Chronicles 21:5 reads, "Jehoram was 30 and 2 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem." So I do believe that, given that he only reigned for a total of 12 years, in order for them to be 2 separate 8-year periods, he would have had to have reigned one 8-year period in Jerusalem, then had a period where he didn't reign in Jerusalem, and then had a second 8-year period when he reigned in Jerusalem. And over the course of 12 years, that is not possible. So I think that these 2 8-year periods have to be referencing the same period. And so Camping believed that this 8-year period started in 849 BC and is an 9-year accession period, which would be the last 8 years of his rule. I think that it's a reference to the first 8 accession years of when he was co-regent with his father. And when those 8 years were up, his father died, and that's when he slew all his brethren. So
I see why you're saying that, because you have, if you count the yellow, these are the accession years. Start with 853, which is the first accession year.
mhm.
That takes you down to the 8th accession year, which is the same year Jehoshaphat died. And then he would have reigned another 4 years. And so it could be that he reigned for 8 years, but that's while Jehoshaphat was alive, and then reigned an additional 4 years after his father had passed away. Which
Yeah.
we've seen something similar to this, haven't we, on the timeline?
Mhm. Well, like I said, I just wanted to point out that Camping's conclusion, and if you want to read Camping's analysis on this, it's in Perfect Harmony, pages 24 to 29. So he believed that the 8 years began in 849, and it references his last 8 non-accession years. And he believes that because it's in reference to the 5th non-accession years of the Judah Joram. Whereas I believe it's a reference to the first 8 accession years of when he was co-regent with his father.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe we've seen this somewhere else. I just can't remember where. Maybe it was with Omri, where he reigned. It says he reigned for 6 years, but it was only referring to when he was
Yes,
reigning
he reigned
from
6 years in
captivity.
Tirzah, and then his forces killed Tibni, and then after Tibni died, then he moved his capital from Tirzah, which all the previous kings had as the capital of Israel, to Samaria, which was Tibni's capital. So basically, his forces beat Tibni. He died, and he changed his capital to the capital of his former opponent.
So
So
this idea is similar to this, I think. But all right. One thing I wanted to point out, we've already run about an hour and a half, so we might close out pretty soon. But I think Brian, there might have been a mistake on the timeline, because let's see, when we got to Uzziah and Jeroboam, let's see. So you placed Jeroboam in 792 on the timeline.
let me double check.
Yeah, according to your timesheet here, it shows Jeroboam 792. This would be the second Jeroboam of
Yeah, I figured. Yeah,
Okay, so if you look here, let's see, Uzziah, if you go to Uzziah, it says, in the 27th year of Jeroboam, king of Israel, began as Azariah, son of Amaziah, king of Judah, to reign. So I know it's referring to this Azariah right here. So how could
yeah.
it be his 27th year of Jeroboam where he begins to reign? If this is 789, if you scroll over, Jeroboam, his 27th year is down here, and I'm not even sure if it's referring to accession versus non-accession.
Wait, what is the verse again? Pull up the verse.
So this is 2 Kings 15, 1 through 3. And the 27th year, so the 27th year of Jeroboam, king of Israel. So that's either his 27th non-accession or his 27th accession.
Yeah, I remember this.
Is this
If you look at Jeroboam's 27th non-accession year, that corresponds, no, his non-accession year,
yeah, 766.
766. That corresponds to the first accession year of Uzziah being the sole ruler. That was Camping's analysis. And this is the only case where I can find where it says they began to reign and it's a reference to their accession year rather than their non-accession year. But I couldn't find any other way to make it fit, and I don't think Camping could either. So if you look at Perfect Harmony, I don't have the page off the top of my head, but if you look at Perfect Harmony, that does agree with Camping's analysis. And so the 27th non-accession year corresponds to the first accession year of his reign as sole ruler.
Right, so that'd be right here because Amaziah dies in 767. The very next year is 766, which is Uzziah's 24th non-accession year. 766 is the 27th non-accession year for Jeroboam.
Yeah, I don't remember what page that is off the top of my head. Yeah, I didn't like that either, but that was the best that that's the only way that I can figure to make it harmonize.
Yeah, I just was wondering about that because I saw that. So, well,
Well, just two more verses I want to go over. 2 Kings 8:17. No, I'm sorry. It's I'm sorry. 2 Chronicles 22:2.
okay, 42 years old was Ahaziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. His mother's name also was Athaliah, the daughter of Omri.
All right, give me a second to look for it. I thought it was in my notes. But there's another verse that says he was 22 years when he began to reign.
I know what you're talking about. This is a common. These are common verses that Muslims like to bring up because it's 2 Kings 8:26.
Okay, so go ahead, read it.
So 22 years old was Ahaziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Athaliah, the daughter of Omri, king of Israel. So here it says 22 years, but over here it says 42 years. So that's quite a difference.
Yeah. So how do we make that match? And let me share my screen for a second. And the way that we can harmonize that, you see the spreadsheet?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. So he was actually 22 years when he began to reign. And so if you see here over to the right in the blue, so this is the year he began to reign. 22 years earlier, this is the year he was actually born. 42 years later, this is the first accession year of when his grandfather Omri became king of Israel. So let me stop back and clarify this, okay? So Ahaziah, he was the son of Joram, king of Judah. He was also the son of Athaliah. Now, some verses call Athaliah the daughter of Omri, who was king of Israel. There's one that calls her the daughter of Ahab, king of Israel. But either way, whether she was actually Ahab's daughter or Omri's daughter, she was in the line of Omri. And because she was in the line of Omri, her son was also in the line of Omri. And that's why Jehu was able to kill him along with, because he was to wipe out the house of Ahab. That's why God allowed him to defeat both Joram, king of Israel, and Ahaziah, king of Judah, rather. So 22 years earlier is when he was born. He was actually 22 years when he became king. 42 years earlier is the first accession year of his dynasty of the kings of Israel. Yes, he was a king of Judah. He was never king of Israel, but he was of the line. He was of the dynasty of the kings of Israel. And Omri's first accession year was 42 years earlier. We see this again in the dynasties. For example, Asa, when it talks about his 35th year, and he went to war with Baasha. And if you look at Asa's actual 36th year, Baasha died here. So when it makes reference to Asa's 15th year, it's actually or I'm sorry, his 35th year. It's the 35th year of his dynasty, which goes back to when his grandfather Rehoboam became king. We also see the idea of dynasty with Saul, and I don't remember that verse off my head, where it says when he had been king for 1 year, he had reigned for 2 years or something like that. And so what it was saying is that his dynasty was 1 year old during his second non-accession year of reigning. And so you have this idea of dynasty. So when Ahaziah was 42 when he began to reign, it means his dynasty, even though he's a king of Judah, his dynasty of a lineage of the kings of Israel was 42 years old. And when it says he was 22 years old, he was actually literally 22 years old when he became king. That's it.
All right, thanks. Well, it looks like we're running out of time, so we've kind of gone longer than usual, but we're gonna try to pick up with next time with the kings and finish it out with the remaining kings. So I know we didn't get too far with the kings, but I feel like we went over a lot of good information. So
Yeah.
right.
Well, this is the most complicated king there is, at least in terms of the timeline.
Yeah, yeah, and then after the kings, we'll be ready to jump right into the captivity of Babylon and all the way to Christ. So that'll be pretty exciting. All right. Well,
Okay.
thanks for joining, and hopefully we'll be back next Sunday.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, bye.